with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's now quickly go ahead. It's time for the wrap-up session with India's top real estate giants. Now, we all know that a pizza company decides to deliver something in 30 minutes and we wonder that, hey, that's fast enough. Until another app-based delivery company decides saying, hey, I'm going to deliver the items to you within 10 minutes. And we think that's fast enough as well. The reason being consumers sitting at the comfort of their homes are looking at convenience that can come to them really fast. But at the same time, the consumer also wants and needs everything within a short walk of their home, which is why we have noticed that retail is witnessing conceptual transition, and that is something that is more experiential than transactional. Which is why we also decided to host this interesting theme around sustainability and mixed use as to how it is a new urbanization. And we decided to bring in the real estate giants to come together, discuss, deliberate, and share their observations with all of us. So we're about to invite these speakers on stage. Let's find out as to why the future lies in mixed-use properties and the high street malls. Let's find out more about living, working, shopping, transforming places in multi-purpose locations for the people. Let's also understand more about the concept of family entertainment centers, all that and more. And let's do so because the person who will be spearheading this particular session, we have with us none other than Pankaj Ranjan, who's the COO and Joint Managing Director, Anurag Retail, who will be spearheading this amazing session with our amazing speakers. While the team is setting up, let me also go ahead and invite our speakers owing to the time. I'd like to also invite on stage our esteemed speakers. First up, none other than Pushpa Bector, Senior Executive Director and Business Head, DLF Retail. May I also please invite Harsh Bansal, Co-Founder, Unity Group and Vegas Mall. Vasco Santos, Global Leasing Director, Inca Centers. Ashish Bhutani, CEO, Bhutani Group. Rohan Anand, Director, VR South Asia, the Zander Group. And Uddhav Podar, Managing Director, Bhumika Realty. Ladies and gentlemen, India's top real estate giants are right here on the stage. Can we have a top round of applause? It's our finale session for the day one of Mapping India. And we'll take that enthusiasm forward. And let me quickly hand it over to our session moderator, Pankaj Ranjan. Pankaj, over to you then.
Thank you so much. So it's actually all the titans and giants of real estate are on the dais. So I'll keep, what we'll do is we'll have an internal informal chat with all of them today. We'll keep it about 35 minutes, and last 5 minutes, we'll leave it to the audience if they want to ask any questions. So let me start with the biggest giant of our real estate, as Harshji says, the DLF, the trendsetter of retail. And they've been set up the footprint in the NCR market and in the northern market and have aspirations to now go all over India with the retail business. And Pushpa, I was talking to you, segmentized the retail business and have done all these spectrums of retail. So the first luxury retail mall in India, thanks to DLF, we got to experience in India. The best food dedicated retail center, lifestyle shopping centers, and the others. So when you look at retail, and we talk about sustainability and we talked about mixed-use developments, we've seen that particularly with DLF, you've always had retail as one anchor in a large part of our development, and then looked at building a lot more around it as well. So what is the vision and the thought process of DLF, and particularly when you've been building these retail centers, how are you looking at this business? What's changed over the years, and what do we look to see in the future on this?
Good evening, everyone. Well, to start with, I think we are seeing a phenomenal next decade where retail will really be maturing in this country. So there are opportunities galore. Now, what we have doing within DLF is that, DLF has got fabulous residential catchments. It's got offices. Just Cyber City is 25 million square feet between Cyber City and what we are building as we are, downtown, Cyber Park, etc., etc. So we have an ecosystem of commercial and we have retail. So what we have done is that really created product categories which cater to the consumer needs. For us, consumer is the primary driver. Where we think consumers are there, we know that we will need to sort of service them. With that approach, we have destinational malls. Destinational malls are Mall of India, Noida, Mall of India, Gurgaon, which is under planning stage, etc. So those are destinational malls. And this destinational mall is ideal to anchor in a mixed-use development. So Gurgaon, which is our flagship project, will be up and running. It's in the planning stage at this point. Will have the largest, probably the largest mixed-use development, where we will have over 8 million square feet of office and around, 2 to 3 million as we go by in terms of retail. So now that's a very strong mixed-use development, nestling within a very large township of commercial. So we have 25 million square feet of commercial space already within a 2 kilometer to 3 kilometer catchment. So there is a primary catchment which is sitting within the DLF ecosystem of residential, which is our secondary catchment, and retail becomes the anchor. So that's one style. The other product category is our plazas. The plazas are going to be anchoring our resi properties. In phase 5, we are coming up with a plaza, which is Summit Plaza. And in West Delhi, we are coming up with another one. Now, these are going to be really retail centers, which are unique in its ways, and anchoring and creating. The lady just now said, how do I order from Blinkit and get something in 15 minutes? Our vision is a person should be able to walk to their retail favorite store and be able to shop or, entertain or dine within that next same 15 minutes. Just walk across, be casual, and enjoy your life, because experiential retailing, physical retailing, is the one which is seeing the largest rebound and growth. And we'll believe that this is going to sort of really explode in the times to come. So we are really looking at mixed-use development of this nature, both with resi as well as with offices. And there will be standalone retail. We have Goa coming up, which are standalone as a retail proposition. That is purely catchment area strength determined. If the catchment area is there, then we'll go ahead and have those destinational developments.
So when DLF develops these retail developments, and you said it's with where you have residential developments and you anchor it with retail, and then when you're doing large office developments and then you do retail alongside or below that at the others, does story start at retail, or does the story is an afterthought and saying like, no, we have some balance FSI available, let's put retail because, oh, we build 1 million square feet of office, niche kuch, we'll put some coffee shops at the others. Is a retail an afterthought anytime, or is it that retail as a category is now part of a development at the drawing stage itself, is purposely built keeping in mind, this is going to be office, this is going to be retail, this is going to be X. So is it, because in a couple of years back, retail used to be an afterthought.
Pankaj, I can tell you, when I talk to the M&A specialists, when I talk to most of the bankers, retail as an asset class used to be the third preferred.
I think
no longer so. No longer so. So retail today is in the annual as a very preferred asset class. Be that as it may, within DLF, we plan retail or offices or the blended use right from the planning stage. From the word go, it has to be planned. If we don't plan it right, we won't get it right. So we are very clear. Yes, we may not want to build the entire 11 million at one go, probably, or probably we may. But we always plan the entire master planning together, else you are bound to get things wrong. And retail is no longer can do, should we do kind of a question anymore. Retail is very, it's from a commercial standpoint also, with rentals going where they are. If we compare it to the other asset classes, retail is highly preferred. So we are able to generate that business in spite and give very, very good paybacks in spite of a high construction cost. So yes.
Okay. Coming to you, Harshji. Harshji, Unity Group has done, I know at one time doing a lot of standalone high street retail and offices, the traditional model with, which were land auctions by DDA. Unity Group has done a lot of residential offices, warehousing and retail, and now a lot more in retail. I've seen that your spread in retail is very widespread, like in your own sense, I'm not saying compared to a DLF or the others, but you've done very small boutique projects where actually the project was meant to be a car parking space of solving the parking problem, and they said, to build a car parking, multi-level car parking, let's make a mixed use and make it retail along to make it sustainable. You've done a very large project in Dwarka, which is a mixed use with a hotel, offices, high street retail, and a mall. And then now doing NSP and many other projects as well in Delhi. So when you look at these projects and when you evaluate from a particularly when it is got multi-use in that, what is the thought process of investing in it? Does the mathematics or the investment work because the retail as an asset class at one stage, as Pushpa said, bankers and investors, even the developers used to be scared of retail. That they used to be scared that retailer के agreement करेंगे, पता नहीं चलेगा, office is more stable, residential बिक जाता है, पैसा आ जाता है. So retail was never looked at as a very sustainable, but suddenly we see groups like yourselves, DLF and all the others on this panel, investing a lot more retail. What are you seeing? Where is the opportunity? And secondly, I know you have also built a project now in Mohali, which is let's say tier 2 town. The logic of going to tier town, what is the paybacks better? What is your opportunity? And it's a mixed use development in Mohali as well. So can you share your insights and story of how you're looking at this business and how you looked at it in the past too and how you're looking at it in the future?
Thank you, Pankaj, and good evening, everyone. So you are right, actually. We were developing earlier small boutique retail, and before that we were mostly in developing office buildings, mainly in Northwest Delhi and Rajendra Place and other parts of the city. Later on, as the theme of our, today's chat is mixed land use as sustainability. And I will explain you in my experience, the both are actually, complementing to each other. I will explain you how. So let us take example of Vegas Mall. Vegas Mall is around 2 million square feet of total development, and where we have around 1.4 million is the mixed use and rest is the parking. So out of 1.4 million, 7,500,000 square feet is retail, 300,000 is around office building, and then we have two hotels. One is Crown Plaza 170 key and another is Holiday Inn Express, again 170 key. And out of 750,000 of retail, we have 100,000 square feet of high street retail, as well as 650,000 square feet of typical retail, you can say. So what we noticed, what we observed that, in our opinion, it's a perfect way to develop, you can say, sustainable development when we do mixed land use. So I'll give you a few examples. Like in our Vegas Mall, our average footfall is 50,000 plus in weekends. So every Saturday, Sunday, we attend 50,000 footfall. In the weekdays, it is around 30,000. So there is a huge gap between Monday to Friday and Saturday, Sunday. The parking requirement for Saturday, Sunday is around 5,000 cars and 4,000 two-wheelers. On the weekdays, it is 3,000 and 2,000. So what we observe, we have to develop infrastructure for the weekend. I can't develop infrastructure for the weekdays. So I have to develop parking lots for 5,000 cars. I have to develop electricity. I have to develop air conditioning, garbage control, everything for the peak time. That is our Saturday and Sunday. But what happens to the weekdays? 40% of that is unutilized. The parkings are lying vacant, electricity is not utilized, air conditioning is not used, garbage area is not used. When we mix this with the office building, so the 200,000 square feet of office houses around 150 different companies, and most of them work Monday to Friday. So that Monday to Friday, 200,000, they need around 1,500 cars. They need around megawatt of electricity, 500 ton of air conditioning, and some garbage and some other things. So the infrastructure created for the weekends is absolutely perfectly utilized in the weekdays
for the office.
For the offices. So what happens? Results that building is now sustainable. So the infrastructure is doubly utilized. It is utilized for the weekend in the retail and for the weekdays for the office building. now my CAM charges goes down because I am charging CAM from the office also, and that CAM is for the same similar infrastructure, and everything is multiple utilized. So it's sustainable because it's multiple utilized. On the other side, you can say cost goes down, my infrastructure is properly utilized. So in our opinion, mixed land use the perfect, you can say, way to develop future development. And that's why we developed CP67 in Mohali also. That's again a similar concept of mixed land use. And we are coming with the tallest residential tower in Delhi, smaller than Pushpaji Tower. But it's around 200-meter long tower in Delhi, and it's in Karol Bagh. That's around 1.2 million square feet of residential. Where also we are coming up with 200,000 square feet of retail. So as Pushpaji rightly said, that it complements to each other. So if you want to make building green, sustainable, you have to utilize your infrastructure properly. And mixed land use is the right way. There are some, you can say, concerns also. So while you develop mixed land use, there are few concerns, which I will also like to mention, that if you are developing a mixed land use of hotel, office, and retail, while leasing out office, you should not lease the office where they are working 24/7, like call centers. The office which are working on Saturday, we should not lease out to them, because Saturday you need infrastructure.
You need the parking.
Then you need parking and everything. So you have to be choosy while leasing your office building. It has to be Monday to Friday. That's a plus also, because when you select Monday to Friday office, you can say companies, they give you good rental, they are good people because they are all MNC. And you can say that gives you good environment also. So you have to be very particular that while choosing your office tenants, you have to select them Monday to Friday only. And one more, if you are developing a hotel within the mall, you have to be one concern that you please don't develop any banquet hall. So what happens, if you have a big banquet in a hotel, that banquet will eat out your all infrastructure in the weekend where the Shah Rukh Khan Jawan movie is there, and you need a lot of car park, and mall is EOSS, and suddenly there's a marriage of around 1,000 people. So
it's going
otherwise, if you are developing a hotel, business hotel you will say, where there is no banquet, and it's a good office building, Monday to Friday, and then good, can say, retail also. So in our experience, if you develop a mixed land use with 60% of retail, 25% of office building, and 15% of hospitality, that's a perfect mix for utilizing entire infrastructure and gives you perfect utilization of infrastructure as well as reduces the CAM like anything.
Perfect. Great. And Vasco, it's great to see you in India and, to see Inca centers investing in India apart from getting IKEA, which is a big boost to say that commitment of international retailers and international companies are willing to invest in the sector in India. That means there is something big which is opportunity in India. So when you look at it from an Inca center's perspective, how do you look at India as an investment opportunity for shopping centers? What do you think, what made, I would say from a perspective, attracts global giants like you to invest in India? Secondly, is there any learnings which we can pick up from sustainable developments and mixed-use developments internationally which you are seeing, which can be implemented here, or there is an opportunity to do something more in this sector, in the developments like we have to do?
Thank you, Pankaj. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be back to Mumbai. As you mentioned, so most of you might not know a lot about Inca centers, and we, together with IKEA Retail, we are part of the same group. So we have in our DNA these, these retail, very strong in our blood. So what we do is primarily retail lab. That's at the center of what we do. But what we are doing from San Francisco in the US to Shanghai in China and in all the other geographies where we are present is, together with IKEA, because we have the same vision, is to create a better everyday life for the many people. And the spaces we create, multi-purpose spaces that we create to answer to these three big points that we wanted to deliver, which is fulfill customers' needs, and that I think that everyone here have the same customer centricity. Bringing people together, that's something that we have very strong focus. And here is where what you said about India. I mean, India is a priority market for IKEA, is a priority market for us as well, right? And we want to be closer to the people, and we want to be, you know, as present as possible in the market. So of course, you know, it will depend on the opportunities. But as I said, what we have as our strong, in our strong brand, as I said, is these three elements, is answer to people's needs, and that's about retail, that's about convenience. In many geographies today is about how can we support retailers in their omni-channel journey, right? So you help retailers and you help customers. Bringing people together is creating a sense of place. And that's something that, you know, we put a lot of focus, not just on development, but also on the operation. In our Likali Gurugram, it's a project that we have in Gurugram, we will have a lot of spaces, common spaces that we want the people to use. It's about roof gardens, it's about interior gardens, it's about amphitheaters, it's about all the spaces, you know, qualified F&B, is about innovative workspaces. So the way we see it is that this needs to be places that are lived by the community. So this sense of community is very strong. And the third one is how to make a positive impact in the community. So these three elements are very important. And when I say positive impact in community, it's not just about sustainability, which is something that, you know, I think all of us here have a big focus. We have right now also very strong agenda on circularity. That's something that, for example, we are even creating our own concept of circularity. It's also about how can you deliver to the people the events or the entertainment. So how can you help them to develop as a community, as customers? So this is also that sometimes it feels like we are not in real estate business. Sometimes it feels like we are, you know, running events, creating initiatives, and our meeting places, they have thousands of initiatives every year. So in India, we want to do exactly the same thing, because this is what is our matrix as company. Just to add on the how, I said the why, I said the what, but how we do it, and I think that sometimes might not be, you know, clear why a real estate company does this. We create our own concepts. We are launching our food hall, our own food hall. We are launching our own co-working space. We have this circularity concept, as I said. So we are becoming also a creator of concepts and bringing this to the people.
Great. You know, Ashish, when we were sitting and all of us are having a chat outside, and you know, you talked about, obviously all of you represent developments, particularly in large cities, but you also talked about that today the opportunity in India to do mixed-use developments is not only in the big cities of NCR or Mumbai or Bangalore, and somehow all three of you who have developments in tier 2 and tier 3 cities in India are sitting alongside. You know, what is the opportunity to do a mixed-use development in smaller cities? Because when we, as you know, I started my consulting career in real estate and, you know, started talking about, initially when we started going to tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities, we realized that there was only demand for somewhat residential, and most people in small towns always preferred to buy their piece of land and build their house, right? There was no concept of very large housing, except barring a few cities, but there was no concept of high-rise development residential. Office also existed very little because large companies were not going there. It's only a small FMCG's company or insurance company or a bank going and taking a small office space. And hotels are always one or two or in a city, apart from the tourist city like Udaipur. I'm sure Udav has a different view, but was not there. But suddenly there has been a big boom of mixed-use developments coming in tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities, and tier 2, 3 and 3 cities are also seeing a big boom like Mohali, having put us a large project. There is suddenly big demand for overall real estate and led by retail real estate. So what's happening there and what's the opportunity? And it would be good to understand what your plans are when you're talking about investment in these cities as well.
Sure. Hi, good evening, everybody. I'd like to take everybody, I don't know how many of you were here in the morning when a very senior executive of JLL was giving a speech. He took us to a point where he told us, in America, the population is 300 million and the amount of shopping malls is 1,000. Come to China and the amount of shopping malls are 4,000. And if you talk about India right now, 350 odd malls, if you include good shopping centers as well, the number rises to somewhere about between 500 and 550. So the growth potential is amazing. It's at least 10 times that I see right now. Given that in mind, right now, the population in Delhi or a Bangalore or Mumbai, there are good spaces. But if you talk about tier 2 cities, right now, good mixed-use development do not exist. Yes, I agree. People want to build their own homes. But after COVID, what they realized is they need a sustainable income source as well, that they are just not dependent on their primary source. And that's where the mixed use comes in. What happens in a mixed use is, first of all, I would like to tell you one thing. At Bhutani, we do not believe retail or office or any one particular thing is an anchor. What we always believe, the story behind the entire thing. Cybertham is an example that we are making in Noida. The current phase, it's 8.5 million square feet. Although it has a 7-acre beautiful fountain, but it has these twin towers, the tallest in North India, and the first mall in the sky in the world. When that happens, I just want to draw a little comparison to Dubai. What happens is there are 3 beautiful fountains, 2 of them bigger than the Dubai Mall. Still you see all that traffic coming there, it is because of an iconic building that Emaar made over there. Similar concepts when we thought about what iconism that is not anywhere in the world, what sort of iconism can be brought here in Noida that can make it super sustainable. That is the story that we curated. Why there will be a McDonald's or a Starbucks maybe nearby in any vicinity. Why would still somebody want to come here? Today's generation, practically everything is Instagrammable, right? If it is not Instagrammable, they'll rather sit at home and do a Zomato or a Swiggy. But if they want to go out there, it has to be an experience. They want to share where they went. It is a matter of pride for them. So given that thought in mind, Delhi, Bangalore, everything, all the tier 1 cities, as you said, being currently saturated. Future amazing, yes. But currently a little saturated. Why not give an experience to tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities as well? For now, we are expanding in Lucknow. We are expanding in Haridwar. We are expanding in Ludhiana. We have closed on a land deal in Goa as well. We are making one of the largest hotels in Goa. It's a Guinness Book of World Record. It has 700 swimming pools in the property, along with a few retail in it. And we like to do that. Like Alpha Thumb, the one that we delivered in Noida, has the largest rooftop infinity pool in the world, along with the largest skywalk in the world. So these kind of things, when you do, you make sure that it is sustainable. Not only from the point of the view of your overall infrastructure, but from the point of the view from the lessees who are coming in, to make sure you always draw in the crowd.
And when you say these iconic properties which you have created are typically in tier 1, is there a potential to do these kind of iconic properties and in tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well?
Absolutely.
The scale may be different, but the iconic
100%.
investment is worth the investment to go into tier 2 and tier 3 to do that?
See, it depends on what location. For example, Haridwar, we are looking, the project is over 1,000 crores. when you talk about Ludhiana, the deal that we closed, that's again the same nature. And there's another deal we are looking at that's north of 4,000 crores. But still it makes sense because it is one of the most prime parcels of Ludhiana. Ludhiana as a city, I'll just give you a very quick example. There used to be a very common saying, which I thought was a fad, but found out later it was true. The amount of entire Mercedes in India was
Capita highest was Ludhiana.
it was highest in Ludhiana, yes. So that is the power of that city. There are many such cities that keep getting ignored because everybody wants to do major developments here. Gift City, for example, has come up so beautifully in Gujarat. It is, I think, on parallel with probably Dubai real estate. That is what beautiful things are happening in India now.
Great. You know, coming to you, Rohan, you know, you run a private equity platform which owns shopping centers in India. And you have centers both in tier 1 and tier 2 cities. And a lot of them are mixed-use developments. Is there, when you look at it from an operating perspective and from a city perspective, is the operating style and the operational very different in a tier 1 versus a tier 2 city? Or is it very same, the customer aspirations the same, operations is the same, or is it different? Because you're talking about something that when you look at your center in Surat, the people take more pride in that because you built it in a city like Surat, right? So how is it different, or is it very similar?
Thank you, Pankaj. Good evening, everyone. So I think in a lot of ways, there are differences. So as a firm, as a platform, each of our centers are different. We do not believe in a cookie cutter approach. So that's where we first start differentiating the product itself. A Surat has been designed for the market that it's located in. Bangalore was designed for the market that it's located in. Chennai was a tribute to the temples of that region. But all of them took mixed-use elements during design, during operations. So because of the maturity of the market that we were present, we had to obviously tweak the product offerings. So when we look at a metro city project, so Bangalore or Chennai, they encompass the entire live, work, play in its entirety. They have boutique residences, they have flexible working, they have retail, they have health and wellness within the campus. When we move to our non-metro cities, so Surat, Nagpur, Amritsar, Chandigarh, over there, we did face challenges in creating this live, work, play concept. So we had to take a step back. We still have plans to convert them into mixed-use destinations over time. But then we started looking at how can the play be diversified. So the play can be something small like giving a garden and using it for community events. The play can even be creating art galleries, educational training institutes, and that's what we're trying in multiple of these smaller centers. So that's from the design side. Now, when the customers are also coming from in a Bangalore or a Chennai, they all have a lot more options. So they might interact with multiple users, but there's always a comparison. There's always a competition for attention with the customer for each of the products. So you're not engaging as much or not creating that strong a bond with the entire market, so to speak. You might be creating a loyal fan base. Whereas in the smaller cities, yes, that does happen a lot when we visit Surat, when we visit Nagpur and Amritsar, wherein they actually take pride and they actually take people who visit these cities to those centers. So on TripAdvisor, for instance, Surat juggles between number 1 and number 2 on TripAdvisor. So that's a huge thing for a retail-led center. So that's how we operate. Now, when it comes to, although there are a lot of differentiation, there are some similarities that you have to maintain. One is customer centricity. That doesn't change. So the customer profile is very different from a Bangalore to a Surat, but you have to manage the basics, the ethos of customer service. You have to ensure the technology is being applied across the country in equal measure. So whether it's renewable energy, whether it's parking automation, whether it's customer analytics, those things are happening together. And even from the demographics that are coming to us. So they might be coming from different socioeconomic profiles. Right now we have 4 to 5 generations entering the shopping center. But in the next 5, 6 years, more than half of the population entering these retail centers will be digital natives.
And they'll be mostly younger population.
They'll be young.
Because India as a country is going back in terms of average population. We're the only country
Yes.
which is reducing from 29 to 27 in the next
Correct.
5 years.
Correct.
In terms of population.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the minute that happens, there's an even more democratization of expectations, of customer wants, customer needs. So there needs to be some standardization. Obviously, India is a diverse country, so we'll have to tweak according to the local cultures.
Thank you. Coming to you, Dev, couple of years back when I met you and you was looking at investing in Udaipur and saying, Pankaj, I'm going to put up a 1 million square feet mall. And I was like, 1 million square feet in Udaipur. And today we are talking about million is already done and dusted when then you're now putting up another 1 million square feet. And it's a mixed-use development, right?
Yeah.
It's a mixed-use development. So I want to understand the logic and thesis on how you started the thinking of a thought process of putting 1 million square feet of a mall there. And now what's the logic of putting another 1 million square feet of a mixed-use development, which is anchored by a shopping center?
Okay. So thank you. I'll give context to everyone about the development, and then I'll go to why we did it. So this is a 1.8 million square feet of development built in 2 phases. Phase 1 is 1 million square feet, which has got retail, shopping mall, high street retail, offices, service apartments, and we're building a 200-room hotel as we speak right now.
So 4 assets.
4 assets in 1 million. And now another 1 million is being built. Why we did it? First, conceptually, we travel all over the world and we see the convenience of these centers, and we wanted to bring that to Udaipur. Also, Udaipur was a nascent market. There was no real estate market in Udaipur. So we were also scared. So we also kind of hedged our bets, to answer your question in the beginning, as an investment strategy. So we always wanted demand to outstrip supply in each asset class. The easier thing would have been to do 1 million square feet of retail first and then build the other asset classes. But we built all of them at the same time, and we saw how the demand was going, which helped us decide the strategy for phase 2. So we saw what was the demand was, and today there is a waiting list. I mean, remember 3 years back when we met, 4 years back, we were selling the city to retailers that Udaipur exists and it's a great market. Today we have a waiting list for retailers to wanting to come into our mall. I think because the strategy was right. So that's the question. I think I've answered it.
And when you look at as an investment, does a mixed-use development in a tier 2 market takes less capital, or the amount of capital required is the same?
It's the same. The quality of development that we've built is equivalent to any center you see, good center you see in any metro city. And today the aspirations of any person living in a tier 2 town because of digitization is equal. So you can't give them a second-grade product.
So you can't give them a second inferior product?
Not at all.
Cheaper quality marble laga deta hu.
I mean,
your toilet will be basic.
It might work temporarily, but it won't work in the long run. You have to give them a world-class product. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was we did some small things in our center, like in the service apartment, how we've got no BOH. We've kind of plugged it into the mall in such a manner that there is no restaurant. It's only in-room dining, and the lobby of the service apartments opens to the mall restaurant floor where the restaurants are operating. So the restaurant gets the service apartment business as well, and we don't need to rebuild that infrastructure again. So we've done some of these things, just using our brains, I guess.
Great. I think listening to all of you, I think what I can gather very clearly is, one, obviously mixed-use developments is now there. We've established the concept very well. Tweaking required in each market as you go by, as Vasco said, ultimately it's all about how you look at it from the customer's perspective. Rohan mentioned about customer sensitivity. I think, Pushpa, when you spoke about segmentation, that it's not a one-size-fit-all, ki ek mall, usme ek hotel ya upar offices bana diye. I think that's not, as Mr. Bansal was saying, that you have to see which part of which complements in which market. So you have to see, does the office work very complements to the hotel, and the hotel, like you had mentioned, opens up into the service lobby, opens up straight into the mall. So I think it's the whole concept about mixed-use developments is that you look at the market, you tweak the model, but yes, today it's not about building one asset class in one piece of land. Today you are talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even tomorrow 5 asset classes coming together in one project itself. So these projects, and they have to talk to each other. What I understand from all of you is that these projects have to talk to each other as well. Any final comments from anyone? I'm happy to close it as we are closing.
I wanted to just explain a few things. That for us, sustainability in DLF means that are we building a, are we increasing carbon footprint? It's very important for us to also understand that as far as mixed-use development is concerned, how do we create something which is not carbon footprint neutral, but at least plan it in such a way that you are reducing the same. And we are very proud of the fact that we are world leaders. We've got LEED Zero. And we are the topmost company in the world to have LEED Zero, which means the water that we consume is the water we discharge. And so there's complete recycling of water, number one.
And Pushpa, correct me if I'm wrong, DLF Mall of India was the first platinum rated mall in the country.
Yes, I'm coming to that. Now, we have the distinction of the largest platinum rating, be it in office buildings or malls. All this means that there is very superior operational processes with recycling in mind, with the fact that there is minimal usage of energy. And this is something that we will need to look at even more closely when it comes to mixed-use development. Because one is, of course, sharing of resources, which is like parking, sharing, etc. But really the fact that if you're building 2 million square feet to 12 million square feet, the idea is how do we create something where infrastructurally you're not impacting that region. And that, to a large extent, becomes the responsibility of the developer, and we'll definitely need to take that into consideration during planning stage and make it, I wouldn't say 100% sustainable, but a sustainable building as much as that environment and the rules in that environment allow.
Yeah, and I think very important point, and before we wrap it up, I think it's also about sustainability. It's not about it's also about giving back to the world which we are operating in. So it's more of a commitment. And I think what will happen is that we are seeing in vehicles as well. I think real estate also we are seeing slowly the government is going to come more and more heavily and will require the norms are going to become more difficult as well to start complying with the environment. So sustainability does not only mean efficient buildings and the others, and I think it's also about looking at it and saying how do we make it more sustainable from an environment perspective as well. So thank you so much. Really appreciate all of you for your as we say, real estate giants, sharing your experiences with everyone. And I'm sure all of you all would experience your projects at some stage or the other. And they're iconic projects each of you have built and are building in the process. And hopefully we meet next year. We will have built some more of it. And we'll be happy to share your experiences further going on as well. Thank you so much.